Everyone, in this video, we're going to go over the newsworthy announcements that Zoho has made. Now, they make a lot of announcements over the week, so I've curated the impactful announcements for you. And with that, I'm Drew Brockbank. I'm a Zoho consultant. I'm a Zoho partner, and let's go over the news. All right, so as you can see here, the first bit of news that we have is the announcement for rich text fields in Zoho CRM. So essentially what this allows you to do is, whereas previously in a multi-line field on any given CRM record within Zoho CRM, you only were able to add plain text, which just wasn't very dynamic, and structuring information just wasn't very organized, and you couldn't really pretty anything up. Now, if you go, and this doesn't actually go into effect until I believe it's the end of February for anyone who's using Zoho the US, you'll be able to use rich text, which allows you to throw in emojis, underline, bold, everything you're used to for most text editors, right? So if you're using Word or you use Google Docs or Zoho Writer, now you have the ability to structure things. And this is really nice. We really like this update. The reason that we really like this is we're tired of these ugly plain text fields. When we throw in a multi-line field, we want the ability to use rich text. So you can see here's an example of using the rich text, and you can use bullet points, everything again that you're used to in most text editors. So I love this update. It's going to be really, really nice. It's one of those things, it's not like you have to have rich text in order to use a CRM. It's not a must-have requirement, but it's a really nice to have requirement. All right, so new in Canvas, customizable tables in related lists, sub-tab grouping, and actions for better navigation. All right, so I'm going to take a step back with you. If you don't know what Canvas is a feature that allows you to customize the front end of Zoho. Now, this is a really unique feature that's unique to Zoho, but I will say it's a double-edged sword, because while it allows you to customize and make Zoho appear on the front end the way that you want, you also have to become essentially a dedicated UI UX designer for your team. Now, most of my clients that use Canvas end up rolling it back over time. So it's not that you can't strategically use Canvas to customize parts of Zoho, but it's that if you overcommit to customizing every field in every single record view for Zoho, it's going to get really exhausting really quickly. So as you can see here, Canvas previously was a feature that just allowed you to customize the front end of the record view within Zoho and the list view inside of Zoho. Now they've expanded these capabilities to the related list. So a related list, if you don't know, if we go into Zoho CRM and we click into a record, it's just these items on the side, right? It's all the related information to the record that you're currently in. So if I jump over here, you can see now, whereas right now the UI UX is locked, I can't modify this. With the new Canvas announcement, we'll be able to actually go into those related list views and modify them so that we can get them to look the way that we want. All right, another cool thing with Canvas, tab enhancements, subtabs. So I don't know if I really agree with the premise of this, because I'm on the side of doom scrolling, right? That's a behavior we're very familiar with, just scrolling for the information that we need. Now, some people like to use Canvas in the record view. This is the strongest use case I've seen for Canvas. I still don't know if I agree with it all the way, but is to essentially make this part of the CRM, if you see here, instead of just having to scroll through all the information for all these fields, adding tabs here at the top, and then clicking into the tabs so that you can access information relevant to the tab group. Now, the reason I don't like that is it just makes your users jump through more hoops in order to access pertinent data. So it's more of a burden on them. And it seems cool in the moment to build it, but if you were the user, it would be like, where did I put that field? Then you might have layout rules. You'd be like, why isn't this field showing? It gets confusing. So my default is, let's just show everything initially. People get used to it, and you can still be organized, right? Like you can still add section headers to each part of the record so that it's not like you're just scrolling through one column of 1,000 fields. You still have these different sections that are helpful. So that brings us to the announcements for subtabs. Essentially, what this allows you to do is inside of the related list view, you can actually group some of these together. So let's say I wanted to group in marketing some of these different related lists. If I wanted to do emails and stage history and lifecycle updates. Let's just say I wanted a tab for that and I wanted to call it marketing. Well, now you can add it. You can see it here. You can add subtabs. That way you can essentially expand the view of your related list because, I mean, it's really simple. Sometimes this just gets really long, right? And instead of scrolling, maybe you want to see marketing, click into marketing, and then see the tabs beneath that. Again, I am more of a doom scroller, so I'm not too worried about this. But maybe for some of you, this is something that you're really excited about and will be really helpful for you, which is great. All right, next bit of news here, the social wall, January 2024. So if you don't know already, a lot of the Zoho application product teams, they will release a monthly roll up of the different updates that have happened inside of their application. Sometimes they do it, sometimes they don't. But in this case, we have one for Zoho Social for the month of January, which is great. So some features that happened inside of Zoho Social Spotlight. So if you've ever used Spotify, and I hope you're a Spotify user, you're not a Apple user, you can show your spotlight for the different songs that you listen to over the year. So now there's a feature inside of Zoho Social that allows you to essentially do that, but instead of for the music you listen to, it's active channels, new followers, posts, publish, engagement, just to show, what were you able to accomplish in the social aspect, over the course of a year. All right, so there's navigation updates that have happened as well. Well, not navigation updates, it's actually a series of videos to help you use Zoho Social in a better way. It's an instructor-led series, so that's up as well, and that's pretty cool. I like that Zoho's leaning into the training aspect. I think training is extremely important. Admins can get their posts approved for publishing, so whereas previously you would just schedule or you'd publish throughout your various channels, now you can send for approval. You can get a manager to approve it for you. That way you have some quality control there. All right, there's been some updates in the Zoho Social mobile applications as well, and we love that. All right, next bit of news, exposing web form as link or QR code and actions on submit customization in CRM. Okay, so this is actually pretty sweet, but here's my gripe. So there's Zoho Forms and there's Zoho CRM, and you can create a form inside of Zoho CRM using a web form feature. And it's slowly creeping on what Zoho Forms can do. I just think it's funny. It's like you see these applications, these new applications start in Zoho. And then the really robust applications start to grow into the same features and functionality that these other applications already have. So Zoho CRM, Web Forms, Zoho Forms, Zoho Web Forms is getting bigger, Zoho Forms is getting bigger, and you just have this overlap. And I just think it's interesting. You would think that if it was just one company that these teams are working with each other to see, but it just shows you they're kind of siloed. Each of these product teams are still, unfortunately, somewhat siloed. But I do think this is a cool feature, right? So, and the reason I bring that up is I don't think because Zoho Web Forms came out with this feature, you should necessarily use Zoho Web Forms over Zoho Forms if you have Zoho Forms. But here's the thing, some people just use Zoho CRM, so this is really nice for them. And the update is this. Whereas before, you just had an embed, iframe, and I believe source code for being able to publish your form. Now you can send out a link and a QR code. So the link is super nice because if let's say you have an email campaign or Google Ads, whatever it might be, any kind of marketing effort, your call to action, if you just want to send them directly to the form, now you have that option. Oftentimes, you don't just send people right to a form, though. You send them to a page with the form embedded on the page, like a landing page, a squeeze page, whatever you're using. The cool thing about this as well is you can use a QR code. Now, I don't know a strong use case for the clients that I've worked with to use a QR code to access a form, but it's here for you now. So maybe you want to use this QR code on printed material. You can download the image, and then if you scan it on your phone, it will take you to the form. So that is pretty cool. I'll give them that. It's a cool feature. All right. Next bit of news here. Latest updates in Zoho Meetings. Personal meeting rooms in Zoho Meeting Annotator. Okay, wow. Zoho Meeting Annotator. Where have you been? I love this. You can see I annotate all the time. And I don't love Zoom's Annotator, but I like Zoom more than I like Zoho Meeting. I'll be honest with you, it's more up to snuff. Zoho Meeting's great. When Zoho Meeting gets up to snuff, I can't wait to switch over though. Personal meeting rooms. Okay, this one's so funny. Personal meeting rooms. A personal meeting room is an ideal way to host a private meeting and conversations with your colleagues, friends, and family. So essentially what you can do is you can generate a link that is user specific. So once you generate this link for a meeting, we've all started a meeting before, and you get the Zoom link and you send it off. Well, this one's in Zoho Meeting. You generate the link, and only a specific specific user can actually get that link and join the meeting, which I just don't know when that would be super helpful for anybody. I think it's really funny if you're having these secret meetings, you're like, I absolutely need to be able to access. I don't want anyone else to be able to access this meeting. I don't want to send out this link, then they send out to 10 of their friends. I just want to meet with this person. I think it's funny, but I might be crazy, and there's probably just some strong use case that I'm just not being made aware of. Zoho Meeting Annotator. Wow. Okay, so when I'm on Zoom meetings, I am like flying all over the place. I share my entire screen. I don't just share a window. That way I can use this annotator. And then when on someone else's screen, like if someone else is sharing their screen, I'm training a team on how to use a tool inside of Zoho, then I will use the annotator to like circle things up and like point to things. That way it's not like, that classic situation where it's like, oh, click right there. And they're like, what are you talking about? Like we're on you're looking at something and like your eyes are over here, and then someone's on the meeting and then they're like, what are you meaning point or like click there? Like we're not looking in the same place. You know what I mean? We've all been there. All right. So those are the two main updates inside of Zoho Meeting. And then we've got enhancements to the list view. Now this isn't big in. This is not in Zoho CRM. And I struggle to understand the advantages of using Big in the long term over just using Zoho CRM. So I don't necessarily advocate for Big In. I do love a lot of these updates, but Big In is essentially Zoho's Pipedrive-like product. And Pipedrive is like a watered down, oversimplified CRM. So it's nicer for the users. It's pretty much worse for everybody else, and that reporting becomes more difficult. And robust functionality and like custom functions becomes a lot more difficult. So why go with a watered down CRM when you can get the real deal? I guess that's my argument for it. That's my case for not using Zoho Big In and using Zoho CRM instead. Okay, so a lot of list view enhancements. They made a video if you want to check out the video. Below are some of the enhancements. Okay, so resize column, not a big deal. Drag and drop, cool, not a big deal. We do that in spreadsheets. Create fields from the list view. This is pretty dope. Okay, I actually like this. Being able to create a field from the list view, that's something that you can't do in Zoho CRM. But I also don't think it would be great to do that, because could you imagine giving that capability to all your users and then forgetting about the permission side of things, and then everyone's creating a field inside of Zoho Big In? Would that really be the best thing? I don't know. Action menu for each column. Cool, so you can click into a column and then it will drop down an action menu. And now there's some different options in this action menu for you. This is pretty cool. You can apply filters quickly to narrow down data in the action view. Rename, edit fields, action view. You can bulk update, cool. Add column, very cool. Collapse column. Okay, I actually really like this. I don't know why. But you can collapse a column and you see how it's now a condensed column there. I just think that's so interesting. Kind of cool. I don't know if I wish you could do that in Zoho CRM, but I find it interesting from a UI UX perspective. Move right and left. You can shift columns left to right. Auto fit column. remove column, delete field. Awesome. So a lot of functionality. It's basically Zoho Biggin is becoming more like a spreadsheet, which is in a lot of ways cool. They're actually doing, if you've seen the Zoho Project's 8 updates, very similar to things that we're seeing there. Not sure who's signing your document. Okay, so this is the creepiest thing ever. Not sure who's signing your document. Not anymore with dynamic knowledge-based recipient authentication. I actually posted about this on LinkedIn because I thought it was so funny. So Zoho Sign is partnering with Ideology. If you don't know what Zoho Sign is, it's essentially an application like DocuSign where you can send out different documents for signature. Now, Zoho is partnering with Ideology because Zoho is very, very adamant that they're not storing your data, right? So their workaround is we'll work with Ideology to do this creepy thing, to provide dynamic knowledge-based authentication. And essentially the idea here is when you send out a document for signature in Zoho Sign, how do you know that just because you added that email, how do you know that the person signing the document is who you sent it to? Well, if I were to answer that question to a client, I'd be like, well, when you send out a document for signature from Zoho Sign, it goes to their inbox, so only they can open it. But then Zoho's like, but what if someone somehow got into their inbox, got the link, and wanted to sign it themselves? How do we prevent that? Such an edge case. I don't know when this would happen. And their solution is KBA, knowledge-based authentication. Its questions are sourced from public demographic data. Okay, that is so weird. Let's get into actually what this looks like though. I'll open the YouTube video and we'll take a look at it together. All right, so I'm going to mute this right about here. Okay, so everything's normal at first. You open an email, right? I'll zoom in here for you. Then once you open the email, you have to go through this form. All right, and I don't know how much you can configure this form, right? This is just announced, but first name, last name. Okay, fair enough. Year of birth, last 4 digits of US social security number. How did you source that? How did you get that from public demographic data? It's so weird. Could you imagine sending out a document for signature and being like, yeah, just make sure you give me your social, first name, last year of birth. And you might be like, okay, Drew, that's pretty standard. And maybe I'm just crazy here. I've never seen anything like this. But then look at these questions. From whom did you purchase a property at 3600 Formosa Avenue? Which city is Formosa Avenue? Gosh, that is the creepiest thing ever. I can't imagine. I can't. So this is so weird. Interesting. It's like one of those things where I swear sometimes like techies, right? Really technical people who have incredible talent and can build very cool features. I swear sometimes they just do it because they can, not because it should be done or because it's high impact, just because it can be done. So knowledge-based authentication, why not use OAuth or something? I have no idea, but now you can add some hoops to signing a document. Maybe you really need KBA, and now it's there for you. Schedule vendor statements. Okay, so Zoho will announce different functions that they've created, and you can just copy and paste them into your system. If you want custom functionality for various applications, in this case, it's Zoho Books. So the nice thing about this is the last one they did was customer statements. Now this is vendor statements. And essentially what this allows you to do is if you are procuring goods from different vendors and you want to send them a roll-up or a statement on a regular cadence for what you've purchased from them, this custom function is for you. And I'm going to show you, they have a GitHub link here, which is pretty sweet. And if I click into it, it'll take me right to the code. And then you can just copy and paste this. This is in Deluge. And this announcement also goes in depth on how to create the custom function so that you can actually place the function inside of Zoho Books. So it's cool. If you want this, it's available to you. Here's a snippet of code. Gives you a place to actually put in, on what regular cadence or date you want to send the statement over to somebody in, which is pretty neat. Important announcement regarding Gmail's new email sender guidelines. Gosh, this is the bulk of the news, guys. I mean, every time I go to check out all of Zoho's news, which is incredibly difficult, by the way, because Zoho, the way they sort their news isn't by last created announcement, it's by last comment. So if I look over like the last 6 days, it'll say announced 2 days ago, but it's really because it was commented 2 days ago. The announcement could have been made 10 years ago. So side note, just kind of crazy. But this is the bulk of the news, is about this new email update from Gmail that's going to affect your ability to send emails if you're not on a custom domain. So the key thing here is if you are using an email and it's at gmail.com at the end of it, or at yahoo.com, at outlook.com, then you may not be able to send emails anymore. So what you need to do is you need to make sure you move over to a custom domain, and you need to make sure that you have your DNS records, which is SPF and DKIM. You can look more into that for details, are added to your DNS. That way you're authenticated, you're verified, and you're ready to go. So again, if you are on Gmail, Yahoo, Outlook, you may be in trouble. Move over to a custom domain. That way you can send out emails. They're changing guidelines there. Automating appointment status and customer feedback collection. Okay, this is funny because automating appointment status is something that has to do with Zoho bookings, and customer feedback collection has nothing to do with Zoho bookings. It actually has to do with Zoho survey. So why they combine this article to give a reason, but I think it's kind of weird. So here you can see you use Zoho Flow now to update Zoho bookings, which is like Calendly if you're not familiar with Zoho bookings. And essentially, once the appointment is booked, you can use Zoho Flow to update the status of the meeting. That way we can be aware of when, the meeting was completed or if it's pending or no show, whatever it might be. All right, that's kind of cool. I'm not a big Zoho bookings fan because you can get double booked. I'd be a huge fan if you couldn't double book, because that's the job of a scheduling software. And I would totally move over to it from Calendly. But until then, I will be on Calendly. I mean, you'll notice as I go through these, I'm a huge fan of what Zoho's great at. Their core applications, I'm a huge fan, obviously. But I'm not a huge fan of the applications that they're not good, that they're applications that aren't good at all. And once they change those, I'll move over to them. But I have applications that I call the core Zoho applications. Those are the ones where I'm like, you have to, if you're going to be on Zoho, this is low hanging fruit. You've got to use these applications and remove so much of the technical debt that you probably built up with other applications that have custom integrations and whatnot. All right, so how to create a survey in Zoho. Survey, essentially they walk you through in this article. I don't know why this is an announcement. It's kind of strange, but you can create a customer feedback survey. We're all familiar with that. Webinar, if you want to join a webinar for creating design documents, manuals, SOPs, and more with Zoho Writer, then you can register to that here, which is pretty cool. It's going to happen on the 8th, 2 p.m. All right, important update in Zoho Forms, enhancements for improved email deliverability. So this has to do with the same Gmail policies that's going around. Honestly, there was like 50 other announcements around the Gmail policy. I'm not going to go too in depth there, but same as before. You gotta add DMARC so you can improve your deliverability. Please refrain from using Gmail, googlemail.com. It's going to affect your ability to send out emails or entirely stop you from sending emails. So with that, that's all the newsworthy announcements within the world of Zoho. And I just want to make mention of Z Training. If you need training for your team, I'm not trying to sell you anything, it's completely free. I've condensed the knowledge from implementing Zoho over 100 times with 100 different companies into a training program so that you can know how to use Zoho at the highest level. I made it so that you could add your entire team to the training from one form as well. So I'll link to it below. You can check it out, see if it's a good fit for you and your team, but it's a great way to get your team trained up as power users inside of Zoho. So with that, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.